The Iowa Hawkeyes come into 2023 after receiving a lot of criticism about what this offense was in 2023. And I would be remiss myself if I didn't say, yeah, it was pretty bad. However, the defensive expectations for Iowa have not changed. This should still be a really good defense, and the offense added a lot of pieces that we're going to look at in a minute to get a whole lot better. So will the Hawkeyes be able to punch their ticket back into Indianapolis with a Big Ten West title? Or are the Hawkeyes going to have an offense that still sputters, winds out of control, and lead to disappointment for this program in 2023? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 college football teams, and that means I'm doing your favorite teams. So why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. But you can help me support my channel in more ways than just that. You're doing one by watching the video right now, and hey, you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing. Anything you are willing and able to do will really help me out a lot. So I greatly appreciate whatever you guys are able to do. Let's talk about the Hawkeyes in 2023. How do we do preview and predictions around here? Well, we take a look at a roster preview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the portal, and the recruiting class as well. That's what it's called. It's based on the word for a minute. And then we're going to take a look at the 2023 Iowa football schedule, preview, predict that game by game. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you the 2023 Iowa Hawkeyes. We start with every team offensively, but it starts offensively with the Iowa Hawkeyes in 2023, as it has to get better. This was, dare I say, not even dare I say, I believe it was the worst quarterback room in the nation in 2023 when you take a look at Spencer Petras and Alex Padilla. And I'm not even going to read off the stat lines because none of them are any sort of eye-popping. This was just not great quarterback play from the Iowa Hawkeyes last year, but they revamped that quarterback room. They've made it a lot better, and I think they have a legit starter here in Cade McNamara. Now, that might not be the most earth-shattering name, but I think McNamara is going to do a pretty solid job here with the Hawkeyes in a starting role. And if it's not Cade McNamara's job, if it's just not to be, well, then they get another transfer coming over from Wisconsin in Deacon Hill. McNamara, of course, coming over from Michigan after J.J. McCarthy took over. McNamara looking for a starting job, and I think he'll get it with the Hawkeyes in 2023. What does this revamped quarterback room have to look forward to, I should say, in skills position? Well, running back room, I think is going to be really good. Yes, you lose Monty Pottebaum. I believe I said that last name right, but I recognize mispronunciations happen, so I apologize if it just happened there. And your third leading rusher in Gavin Williams is gone as well. But your top two leading rushers return to this team. Caleb Johnson, 779 yards, 6 touchdowns on over 150 carries. And then Layshawn Williams, 413 yards and 2 touchdowns on 117 carries. So still, I think going to be a pretty good running back room for the Hawkeyes in 2023. Wide receivers, well, Arlen Bruce is gone. Did have quite a few carries as a running back last year. But as a wide receiver, which of course is his prime role, 187 yards and a touchdown. You also lose Keegan Johnson as well. However, Nico Reganey is your most prolific returner in terms of wide receiver receiving yards, if that made any sort of sense at all. He's your top returning wide receiver. There you go, 386 yards and a touchdown, as well as Deontay Vines and some other names I could have thrown on this list. And we know the story with Iowa and tight ends. They are loaded. Sam Laporta is another one of those really good tight ends that are gone. 58 catches, 657 yards, and a touchdown. The touchdown did not lead the team. However, the receptions and yards did. No, their returning tight end led the team in touchdowns with a whopping 4, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but for this Iowa passing attack last year, it was Luke Lakey. I believe I said that last name right, but again, I apologize for mispronunciations. 28 catches, 398 yards, and again, as I mentioned, 4 touchdowns. But they get a really good tight end transfer coming over in Eric All, a 4-star rated transfer according to 24/7, again, from Michigan. So I believe it's going to be Eric All that gets that starting tight end spot. I think he's going to be a really good piece for this Iowa Hawkeyes offense. Offensive line, you lose Jack Plum, but are going to return Connor Colby, Mason Richmond, and Logan Jones. Defensively, we know the story with this Iowa team usually has a pretty solid defense, but they are losing a lot of really nice pieces from last year. Starting with the defensive line, and Lucas Van Ness was tied for second on the team with 6.5 sacks, and then John Wagner gone off of this defensive line as well. He was a pretty good piece, right neck and neck with Lucas Van Ness for total tackles last year. However, a lot of really good names return to this Iowa Hawkeyes defensive line. Logan Lee, Joe Evans, who, again, Joe Evans tied for second on the team with 6.5 sacks. Noah Shannon and Deontay Craig, and Craig led the team in sacks last year with 7.5 of them. A lot of nice pieces coming back there, as well as getting a really good community college transfer in Ontario Thompson, I believe the 20th overall rated community college transfer according to 24/7 Sports. In the linebacker room, you do lose your top two tacklers and Seth Benson and Jack Campbell. Campbell 125 tackles last year to go along with 2 picks. But you do return Jay Higgins, Kyler Fisher, and Carson Sherrar, as well as get a transfer over from Virginia, 4-star rated transfer, and Nick Jackson to help bolster the linebacker room. Defensive back-wise, you lose some guys. Riley Moss led the team with 11 passes defended and an interception, and Kavon Merriweather had 3 interceptions, which was second on the team because they do return, I should say, their third leading tackler from last year, led the team with 5 interceptions, including 3 pick sixes. Cooper DeJean, Sebastian Castro, and Quinn Schulte, among some other names, all return. It starts with the offense. Can it get better? We know the defense is going to hold up its end of the bargain. The offense has got to improve from where it was last year. Your head coach is Kirk Ferentz. Offensive coordinator is Brian Ferentz. And your defensive coordinator is Phil Parker. Here's the schedule for the Iowa Hawkeyes in 2023. If you see a game underlined, it's going to be a home game. If you see a game in italics or the slanted text, it's a game that the Hawkeyes are going to have to play on the road. Any game in green is a game Iowa should be able to win easily. Yellow is a game where, okay, the opponent's going to give Iowa a fight or a very close game, but I still have the Hawkeyes winning, and red is a loss. So let's go through and game by game predict. They start out with Utah State. I don't think Utah State has a bad defense by any stretch, so I think this is going to be a nice test to kind of see what this Hawkeyes new look offense is made of. Iowa, obviously, in my opinion, is going to win the game by double digits, and I have it by 14 or more points. This is going to be a very nice look to see, again, will this defense live up to expectations, which it usually does with this Iowa Hawkeye team, and the offense, how does it look? They'll beat Utah State. So a nice tune-up game before the rivalry game. You got to go on the road to play in Ames against the Iowa State Cyclones. A rivalry that Iowa has dominated recently, but Iowa State's been competitive as of late. I believe they even won last year. I could be totally wrong on that. Feel free to correct me in the comment section below. But this Iowa State Cyclones team, I think, has some good offensive pieces to be able to give this Iowa defense some sort of fits, as you do have Hunter Deckers coming back at quarterback. Jarrell Brock, I believe, returns at running back. And even though Xavier Hutchinson is gone, there are still some nice pieces in the tight end and wide receiver room. However, saying all of that, while they have some nice returning pieces, I don't believe they're going to have the offensive firepower to get through this Iowa defense. And I believe Iowa's offense is going to start making some plays at this point in the season. I know it's early, but I believe Iowa's offense is going to make some plays here to help win them this game. So the Cyclones keep it close and competitive, but the Hawkeyes walk away with the Cy Hawk Trophy. And then that next game against Western Michigan, I do not see the Broncos having much luck here against the Hawkeyes. Same sort of story with Utah State. The offense will make some plays. We'll see what it's made of, but the defense is going to carry the Hawkeyes to the win. Moving on to a great challenge right out of the gate in Big Ten play, Week 4 against Penn State. Now, Penn State is a legit team this year. Drew Aller, I think, is going to be phenomenal at quarterback. They got one of the best running back rooms in the entire nation. Wide receiver group is great, and this defense is going to be really, really good, if not better than what the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to boast in 2023. Penn State is just going to be too dynamic offensively, I believe, and I don't think the Hawkeye offense is going to be able to keep up. And playing on the road in Happy Valley, never an easy task. The Hawkeyes drop that game to the Nittany Lions. Moving on to this game here against Michigan State. I think the Spartans will keep this game competitive, but as I've said in most of my Big Ten prediction videos, too many questions for me with this Michigan State team. Who plays at quarterback? That is a huge unknown with the transfer of Peyton Thorne, with Keon Coleman gone. Who's going to step up and lead that wide receiver room? And while they got some good pieces on defense, again, offensively got a lot of question marks. It's the same story with Iowa, but I think Iowa's got a much better defense that'll lead them to victory against the Spartans. And then Purdue. I think Purdue's got potential to be a pretty solid team and be pretty competitive among the Big Ten West. I just think Ryan Walters and company are going to need a little bit of time to be able to figure out this Purdue roster, as they lose a lot from last year. And I think Iowa's going to be able to carry themselves nicely to victory here. So starting out the year 5-1, really good start for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Moving on to week 7 against the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin is going to have a scary offense this year, I think, with Tanner Mordecai at quarterback. He can really sling it. He's got a good group of pass catchers. And again, you have Braylon Allen returning in the running back room, as well as a defense, much like the same story with Penn State, that is going to be as good, if not better, than what Iowa is going to provide. And again, same story with Penn State. You got to go on the road, play in a tough environment in Camp Randall. And this Wisconsin offense is dynamic. I don't think the Hawkeye offense will be able to keep up, and the Badgers take that one from the Hawkeyes. Moving on here to the game against Minnesota. Minnesota is a very interesting team walking in here with losing Mo Ibrahim a lot on the offensive line, and again, Tanner Morgan, the super senior at quarterback, leaving. Definitely some things to try to figure out for the Gophers, but I believe they'll have it all figured out. I think they're going to have a very good defense here. I just think Iowa is going to be a little bit better of a Minnesota. I'm trying to find the way that says I don't think Minnesota is going to be as good defensively as this Hawkeye team will be. Minnesota's losing a lot of key contributors on that defense, much like Iowa is, but I just trust the Iowa defense a little bit more, and I think the offense is going to have learned from its mistakes that it's going to have made in the past 7 weeks. So the Hawkeyes get a nice, close, and competitive win here against the Gophers. And then there's your bye week. So 6-2 heading into the bye week. I don't think it's a bad record nonetheless. You lose to 2 pretty talented teams while beating some quality teams in there as well. Moving on to week 10, Northwestern. This is a neutral site game in Chicago, but Pat Fitzgerald's team, it's returning some nice pieces. I just don't think, much like last year, it's going to gel at all. But again, never count out Pat Fitzgerald. This could be a Northwestern team that surprises some people. I'm just not predicting it that way, so the Hawkeyes be able to win that one. They're going to be able to beat Rutgers pretty handedly there as well. The Scarlet Knights are a team that has got a lot to try to figure out, and this may be the year on whether or not Greg Schiano and this Rutgers program decides whether or not Greg Schiano is the man for the job. So Hawkeyes get a couple easy wins coming out of the bye week, in my opinion, before you play Illinois. I think Illinois is going to be the same story last year. Pretty good defensively with a hit-or-miss offense, but it got an upgrade at quarterback position with Luke Altmaier. You are losing your defensive coordinator, of course. Ryan Walters going over to be the head coach at Purdue. So this is a very interesting Illinois team for me. I just trust Iowa's defense more. They're getting this game at home. I think the offense is going to be rolling by this point after a couple of easy games, and the Hawkeyes roll into this one. And then it's the rivalry game against Nebraska. And I'm going to warn Hawkeye fans out there to close your eyes. I do think Iowa's going to drop a game on here that they don't expect, whether it's on the road at Iowa State, on the road in Nebraska like I'm predicting here. Maybe it's Minnesota, Michigan State, Illinois. They drop a game at home. I think Iowa's going to drop a game that they shouldn't, and Nebraska has got all the talent in the world to be able to do it. Matt Rule is coming in town. Nebraska may be playing for their bowl game lives at this point. I think the Huskers in Memorial Stadium will, what I think will be considered an upset over the Iowa Hawkeyes, which leads the Hawkeyes to a record of 9-3. Now, if this defense fully lives up to the expectations that a lot of people are talking about, and the offense improves mightily, this can be a 10, if not 11 win team. But again, if the offense continues to sputter, maybe the defense takes a step back, this could be a struggle year for the Hawkeyes. But I got them at 9-3, and let me know what you think about the Hawkeyes in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.